Test 1 2. 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 Test 1 2.
This is where they're doing the lift the forum?
It is.
Residential thing? I guess they've been coming up with these two microphones as the past ones?
Yeah.
Or at least they're supposed to.
Yeah, they've been doing good.
Gotcha.
They've been instructed to do that, not just to stand up. Otherwise, we're screaming in.
Yeah. Good.
So they've been good about that. So we should not have any,
Awesome. Wasn't gonna be up here while
Right.
he's obviously thinking about,
like, we won't want to have that here.
Oh, hey, Dave, you hear that? He's got more box. Oh, man.
Yeah, they added that one in at the last minute. We're set, ready to go. board meeting,
Yeah, they went to executive session, so we just figured.
excitement and bounds, yeah.
Well,
Well, their usual, thing is for executive session, how do you decide anything,
Yeah.
meeting adjourned. And then if you want interviews,
But the problem is we need to get this.
Right.
for the meeting.
Sure, right.
Multiple person afterwards.
Right.
You never know if they're gonna be in there for half an hour or 30 hours. Although hopefully
The past two, 5, 4, they varied a little bit,
Well, so if that's the case, I think they probably wrap up fairly quickly over here, huh? Yeah.
but I just got a text from a guy over there that said this looks like it's not a lot of time. I don't know what he knows, but
Yeah.
usually nothing.
Yeah.
Because we know as much as you guys know when we go over there to shoot those things.
Sure, sure.
Just right here.
What's that?
I'm gonna just right here.
What's that?
Yeah, not under someone else.
Okay. Yeah. Working backwards. Just to stay straight with the top.
Is it on? Yeah, okay. Just FYI, the Board of Trustees are still meeting, so this is going to be delayed probably about 10 or 15 minutes. So we've got refreshments outside, so please eat up. We need to get rid of those things anyway, so just be patient with us. They'll be over here as soon as they can be.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody, thanks for your patience. I'm told that the trustees are headed over here now, so there'll just be a few more minutes. There's still plenty of brownies out there, so go eat up.
This may be one of our bigger crowds.
Good afternoon. Hi, Dave. I apologize for being late. There's a Board of Trustees meeting that's still going on, so we had to stay long enough to make sure we had a quorum for one last item. But I know your time is important, so I do apologize for keeping you waiting. My name is Bonita Black, and I chair the Listening Tour Committee for the University of Louisville Board of Trustees. I also chair the Governance Committee for the board. And it's my pleasure to lead these conversations with you, the constituents of the university, and to learn from you about what we're looking for in the next president to take us forward. Hi, Lindsay. What I'd like to do is have the people up here introduce themselves. I will then paraphrase the questions for you that we want you to focus on as we have this conversation. And then I will stop talking and look to hear from you. So I'm Bonita Black. I'm the managing partner of Steptoe & Johnson's Louisville office. It's a law firm. I do corporate work, nothing practical. And as I said, I'm a trustee that leads this committee. And with that, I'll have Enid introduce herself. Many of you probably already know her.
I think most of you know me, Enid Trucius-Haynes, Chair of the Faculty Senate and board member.
Okay.
I'm Bill Funk, and I'm the consultant to the Board and Search Committee on this search. Our firm is headquartered in Dallas, and we've done over 435 president or chancellor searches over the past 35 years. And we hope to utilize the experience we've gained in doing those searches and assist this board find the very best candidates that we can find.
And we will be joined by some other trustees as soon as our trustee meeting is over. So we'll be happy, to introduce them when they get here. So the questions that I want us to focus on answering are, what are the major challenges and opportunities the next president will inherit, both immediately and long-term as they come here to the University of Louisville? And then what attributes should the next president possess to be successful and best serve the diverse community that works and learns here? And then what would you say to a hesitant or reluctant candidate to get him or her to enter the applicant pool? I received a list today of 11 super duper candidates that have not submitted their materials. So I'm going to become a dripping faucet in their ear until they at least give us a yes or no. We have 45 candidates in play. We had 135 people express interest, and we expect to get maybe 20 more applicants before all is said and done. And then what themes most powerfully express who U of L is, what its identity is? And one thing that I've learned in these last listening tour meetings, I've learned a lot about the culture here and the people here and the commitment that you all have to this organization. And that's what drives me to lead this conversation with you right now so that I can help make sure we find the next best president with your input. And then the last question is there something that we haven't asked you that we should have that you'd like to share that might inform our search for the next president? I would like to say that, as I've said in the previous listening tour meetings, we, the Board of Trustees, sincerely want your input. And we're taking copious notes, and we're finding common themes among the things that have been said over the last 5 or 6 meetings. But we like hearing it because that just confirms to us what we're looking for. So please be candid with us. We also have a website with a portal where you can submit information to the Board of Trustees and the search committee with regard to candidates for the search. The search is open for resumes until February 15th. So if you know of good candidates at other universities, I'm shameless enough to go after them and try to get them to enter the pool. So just let us know those names and we will run them to ground and at least give it a shot. We're excited about the process. And with that, I will be quiet and listen. Oh, one other thing. If you have questions of the Board of Trustees while you have us here, feel free to ask those questions as well. And I look forward to learning from you today. And please use a microphone, I'm sorry, when you speak, because this is a live feed, and so we want to make sure the people listening in remotely can hear your good comments.
And please really tell us what you think.
Benita, I'd like to thank the board and yourself for having these sessions because they're very important to us to be able to express some of our feelings. I'm representing the Sustainability Council on campus, which is 60 members strong of faculty, students, and staff, and really didn't have another opportunity anywhere else in the tour to discuss some of the issues. In terms of themes, other universities have made their mark, and we're making our mark in Kentucky in how we approach sustainability and becoming a green campus in a place where students can explore those kinds of themes. We're the highest rated sustainability college in the state, and we also serve as a draw for the region. So other campuses, and Michael Crow is an example of Arizona State, where as a president, they have used that as a pillar of their vision and how they go forward with a lot of their activity that branches or covers a lot of different activity on campus. We've created degree programs, we've done operational things that push that thing forward. So I would hope that a presidential candidate at least has it in their lexicon, that that's something to be aware of and that can push our university forward. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Hi, my name is Avery Kohlers. I'm in the philosophy department. I want to thank you for doing this as well. And a few things about both the substance of the position and the process. First off, on the substance, I think it's really important that whoever be hired as president have roots, have a strong, firm foundation in the faculty. It's got to be somebody who has been in the classroom, has been a productive researcher, somebody who understands academic freedom and understands threats to it. Right now, we're facing, I think, two levels of threats to academic freedom. One is sort of ideologically motivated austerity coming from government that leads to progressive cuts, and there are going to be decisions about what programs are worth funding and what are not, and somebody a president has to come from the faculty to appreciate the importance of academic programs, irrespective of whether they are profitable or whatever. And we're also facing, in addition to the sort of ideologically motivated austerity, we're facing a political environment around the country where there is some, I think, politically motivated attacks on faculty, especially faculty who are vulnerable, contingent faculty in particular, but faculty who are perceived as having said something incendiary, and what they say tends to be taken totally out of context. This happened, I believe, at Texas A&M, it happened at Drexel, things taken totally out of context that then get faculty death threats, get them fired, and a president who's going to have our back against that kind of politically motivated, the social media outreach machine that's being used so effectively for political purposes. So for those reasons, among others, somebody who has a strong foundation in the faculty is committed to the tenure system, is committed to increasing the percentage of our faculty that are that have stable employment, including tenure, is going to be essential. Going forward, I appreciate your being here, and I appreciate that you are going to be crafting the final position description based on what you hear here. I hope that you will have, you'll report back to the campus what you learned here, what came out of these sessions, and how you'll use those. And I also hope that you will spend more time on campus going forward. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think for the appointed trustees, these 2 days are the only times most of the trustees have been to this campus since they were appointed, other than for their own meetings. And so trustees should be visiting departments, should be getting to know people. And that can be really helpful in knowing the university well enough to hire somebody to lead it. Finally, process-wise, I just want to reiterate how important it is that finalists come to campus for open forums. I hope that, as you said, you're learning about the campus by being here. I can't imagine wanting to be hired to be a president of a university without having been at that university and met people. And I think the current, I'm not sure that compromise is the right word, but the current plan that has been settled on for giving people the opportunity to come to campus if they want when they're finalists is inadequate for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons it's inadequate is it's possible that a couple people will say yes and one will say no. And if two say yes, we can imagine that the campus likes them, people are happy with either of those candidates, and then the Board of Trustees just decides that the third, who's never shown up here, is the candidate. I think that the amount of distrust and frustration, resentment at that kind of bait and switch would be toxic for whoever's hired to be the president.
There has been a tweak to that just this morning with our meeting with the Red Book Committee. And what we've decided to do with our board chairman leading the charge is for any candidate who can't meet the whole population, we're going to have them meet with the Red Book Committee and the senior leadership team that answers up to the provost, and then the 8 people that are added to the search at the end. I'm also empowered I sought empowerment to have some of the Red Book Committee people help me cull resumes. So we've slightly tweaked the process today to try to both deal with what we are hearing from you and keep the search in a place where we can get ample candidates to get the best possible president. Bearing in mind that it's still the Board of Trustees' ultimate decision to choose the president, but we'll do it with a little more input from people that you have empowered to represent you. And so hopefully that will help. Again, I have to come up with a compromise because I don't want to have no candidates in a search and then have to just hire the last person standing. So I'm trying to split the baby a little bit. So that's kind of the tweak to the process. I hope you'll consider that and see whether that can help you further work with us to get this done, but to have a real good pool of qualified candidates. I understand that sitting presidents often won't meet the full populace because they could lose their present job, and unless we can guarantee them they'll get the job, they may not want to meet everyone. But I hope that you would be secure in allowing your representatives to meet them and interact with them. And not everyone will be happy with that, but that's more than you had. So I hope that will be helpful in some regard. And I'm trying to find ways to work with you and give you more opportunities for participation while trying to fill a position and have ample candidates on board.
And I will say, so that compromise was reached with the members of the Presidential Search Faculty Consultation Committee this morning. So so that compromise was discussed and reached between the chair, David Grissom, and members of the Presidential Search Faculty Consultation Committee earlier today, and they expressed, they were satisfied that for any candidate who chooses not to come to campus will at least meet with the Council of Academic Officers and the PSFCC.
And we'll still strongly encourage every one of them to come to campus and meet everybody. Right. But at least this will give some other people a chance to interact with them. So since you don't know us and you don't trust us, at least you'll have people that you do know and trust very well that will have an opportunity to interact, and hopefully that will help the community embrace and welcome a new president.
Well, I'm not sure this is a place to discuss details. Personally, I think that's inadequate still. If the PSFCC at least had votes, that would be something else. Best practices are for not only for finalists to come to campus, but for the faculty committee to have a vote, and or for the trustees to commit that nobody whom the faculty reject can be hired. Those would be two compromises that still don't require, if the faculty's vote can at least veto the final hire, that would still not require somebody who was a sitting president to come to campus. I just want to also point out that if someone's given the option to come to campus and doesn't, if that counts against them that they not come to campus, then that puts them in a terrible position as a finalist anyway. So I'm not sure that it helps. But maybe this isn't the place. I'm hoping that there will be. That strikes me. The new strikes me as still very far away from where we should be. So, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. I appreciate them.
I'm John Gilderblum, professor, School of Public Health, departments of planning, public administration, urban studies, and I think sustainability. Anyway, let me just start out with a statement. In April of 2016, the front page of the New York Times was an article citing an article in the Journal of American Medical Association stating that the lowest lifespan of any city in the nation next to Detroit and Flint was Louisville. We lose 5 years of our lives by living here in the city. If you're in West Louisville, near the chemical factories, you're losing up to 13 years of your life. And that's strongly linked whether you're black or white. And that's an issue too. So we got a lot of significant problems. And underlying what the previous speakers talked about, we need that academic freedom to do truth to power, to challenge the industries, to challenge the politicians, both Democrat and Republican, and to get out there. And academic freedom is essential. There's a lot of pressure right now on academics to cool down, and so on. I want to also say that, so that's one of the things, is we need a leader that's going to absolutely support academic freedom, both for conservative scholars as well as for Marxists, liberals, and so on. We need that. I've said this before in private with talks with trustees as well, but I think one candidate to consider as part of that, and he'll only come if he's asked, would be the former mayor, Jerry Abramson, who was assistant to the president in the White House. I think he'd be an excellent choice and should be part of the competition. He's given so much to the city in terms of addressing urban problems and urban issues. He's a big thinker. And he's done has a marvelous record both in the Obama administration as well as for our city. And he understands urban problems. And I remember when I was part of the group that was pushing for Abramson before Shoemaker was elected, just that push helped Shoemaker push for more study of urban problems, more urban issues, and so on. So I congratulate you for having this forum, and I just wish you the best luck. But we need a strong leader. It doesn't necessarily, in my book, there's been a lot of people who have come out of government, like Senator David Borden over in Oklahoma, taking the reins and put it together. I think the other thing I'm more excited about the idea of Mayor Abramson is the fact that he's so well connected, especially in the White House, working with industry and government leaders, and he knows when to say no, and he knows when to say yes. he'll be the best protector of faculty interests. But I think we do need to have a mix of candidates out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you get that name? Joe Williamson, okay. I know Jerry well, he's my former law partner, so, yeah. Okay. Other comments?
Hi, my name is Cecily Ashante, and I'm not here representing any constituency. I thank you for the opportunity to come and speak and share my thoughts in terms of what I would like to see in our next leader, our next president. And I'm hoping that, that you can find someone who is able to share a vision, inspire a shared vision of diversity and inclusiveness. I find that in my years of working here at the University of Louisville, that when you have a climate of diversity and inclusiveness among its leadership, management, faculty, staff, and student body, it makes you feel like you do belong. And people will go over and beyond the call of duty to move the university forward if they felt and if there was that type of climate. So that's all I really wanted to share. I know that we're under a CPE mandate, but I did not want to bring that up. I wanted to speak from my heart and from my experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is John Broska. I've resided in the Commonwealth of Kentucky for 40 years. I currently live in Nelson County. I'm a former student. I'm a parent of a speed school grad, a father of a business school grad. I'm a donor, booster, and fan of Cardinal Athletics. I'm a 30-year season ticket holder, 25-year basketball season ticket holder. I've donated thousands of dollars to the Cardinal Athletic Fund. I love U of L, have a passion to see U of L exceed in all endeavors, academics and athletics. U of L is a vital economic engine of this community. It is a source of pride nationally and countless thousands of our city and commonwealth. I am here to express my profound displeasure and concern over the actions of the current leadership of our university. Stated intent to de-emphasize athletics at U of L is not in the best interest of the university, its students, alumni, faculty, community at large, city, and commonwealth. The lack of transparency in the presidential search are not in the best interest of the university or the university community at large. It does not ease concern or quell grumbling of the agendas. The previous handlings of the hasty terminations of Tom George and Rick Pitino have resulted in an unnecessary litigation, further negative publicity, and put the university at risk for millions of dollars in lawsuits. Many members of the university committee at large have zero confidence in the current leadership's patience and execution to make executive decisions on who shall lead the university moving forward. These decisions have a profound effect on all of us. And in the past year, if any of the indications of the current leadership's competency, it fails miserably in its charge. I would conclude by expressing that myself and several people I know, and some in the community at large, do not accept the current interim president Postal as a candidate for the permanent position of the president of the university. Thank you for listening.
And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Hello, My name is Lily Ascari, and I am here on behalf of graduate students. I'm the current Graduate Student Council President. I really want to answer the question of what kind of quality I think a president needs, and I really do believe that perseverance is something that we need to make sure that we're looking for. Perhaps it goes without saying, but our university is facing a numerous amount of challenges, and I think that it's best not to hide the challenges we face from a potential president. That way we can assess whether or not they are willing and able to fight for our university. Throughout my experiences on various committees, I've come to know quite a few faculty and staff who I've found just have a real passion for the university. They have a passion for the work that they're doing here. They're willing to fight to make sure that we don't go down. We won't go down. But I think that a president has to share that same sentiment, that they need to be willing to fight for what they believe in. They need to be willing to fight for our status as a university, especially as a R1 institution. I think that's extremely valuable. Honestly, is something that brought me here as a graduate student. I'm not a native of Louisville. I'm not a native of Kentucky, but I've come to love the city and the people I work with. And I think a president needs to do the same. And of course, just because I'm here for graduate students, I do think that we need a president that understands the kind of in-between situation that graduate students are in. We're not quite staff, we're not faculty, we're not quite students. We work for the university, we're paid by the university in most situations. And so we're in this weird situation where we aren't treated as students, we aren't treated as staff, but we are treated kind of as both. And graduate students participate and contribute so much to that R1 institution ideal. We are here to do research. And I think that if a current president does not value that distinction we have, you're going to lose a lot of candidates and you're going to lose a lot of good minds coming out of U of L that are going to spread the word and get more candidates to come here. Because as we all know, word of mouth is very important for recruitment, and we need to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My name is Russ Vandenbroek. I'm a professor of theater arts and the head of the Peace, Justice, and Conflict Transformation program. One comment I prepared to say in advance, an anecdote that occurred to me here, and third, an observation. I don't believe anyone here wishes to wake up in the morning and see a headline in the Courier Journal like we've seen for the past few years. I do not think there is any person currently connected with the University of Louisville who can be appointed and command the sort of respect that we need nationally. I think it must be an external candidate. Secondly, in terms of diversity, which is a buzzword in many quarters, I believe it is reality here. And I've had many experiences of going to professional conferences, both for theater and peace studies, where the composition of the room is vastly different from what I'm used to here, faculty assembly, in my classroom, and so on. And I think that we need someone who deeply understands and experiences the kind of diversity that we don't just talk about, but act on. Our students are aware of that too when they go to student conferences. They came back, we sent 4 students up to a Notre Dame Student Peace Conference. They came back saying, my God, I couldn't believe how white and rich it was up there. The last comment is that, yes, I appreciate your coming out today, but the language from the dais is problematic because I kept hearing you, what you want, addressed to some of the previous speakers. And I think conceptually, what these representatives and the search must be looking for is someone that we want. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing. And I apologize for using you, but what I'm trying to do is include the whole community in the search process and not just the Board of Trustees that is a search committee. So I'm sorry if I offended you. Other speakers?
Hi. My name's Andrew Grubb. I work in the University Honors Program. Usually when we hear the major constituencies of the university described, they are listed as students, faculty, and staff. And staff. So I just wanted to put that out there. Proudly staff here at U of L. Though I should note, I don't necessarily speak on behalf of all staff. I just want it known that I am staff. I was watching a live stream in my office reading scholarship applications, and I saw people getting up and talking, and I thought, I should talk too. So I've got just a few thoughts of varying levels of coherence. When you ask for an attribute that I would like for the next president of U of L to have, I think the way I would say it first is, I would like somebody who doesn't really want the job, which sounds a little oxymoronic and strange and paradoxical, but what I mean by that is someone who rejects the trappings, right? Like someone who's not in it as a resume line or to get rich or anything like that, but somebody who really sees, I hate to say it, the reclamation project that's here and wants to roll up their sleeves and get dirty and invest in that. As I say reclamation project, I think we also want someone who recognizes the great transformative power of the university as an institution and for the people it serves. I'll make 2 points here. At an event one time, I introduced President Ramsey, which at that time I thought was a great honor, and I described him as, and I stand by this description because it's non-judgmental, I described him as the man who destroyed all my favorite parking lots. Right? I mean, we were a university of parking lots. All the places I parked as an undergrad are now the Shoemaker Research Building, Kurz Hall, the Little Yum Center, things like that. So all of these markers of the great progress we've made as a university. And we transform people. I am a 2001 graduate of Atherton High School. I graduated with a 28 ACT, a 3.1 GPA, which then, as now, is good for a 4-year renewable scholarship of $0. I came to the university, I worked Metro College, I did some of the hardest time there is. I went away for a little while, I came back, I work here now, I love it. I mean, over the 1.5 years of scandal and problems, people asked me, what is morale like, what does the university look like? And I said, I'm putting one foot in front of the other. I'm helping the students who come in my door. I mean, our university is a place that engenders that kind of love and commitment. You could probably get the story from everybody in this room. So I think that presidential candidates need to recognize that. My phone switched off, sorry. I think we need someone who recognizes what I once heard from an accounting professor in a Fulbright interview, which is that in every system of internal control, there is a level above which that control does not function. So I will tell you it's very frustrating as a staff member to have heard stories about, you know, administrators embezzling money, and then the next email I get is, now when you submit your pro card reconciliation, like that's gonna fix that. So I think that the previous speaker from the graduate students, from the graduate student governing body talked about fighting with us, as in on our side, not against us. But that's something I'd like from the next president, is a really strong identification with the plight of the faculty, staff, students, what have you. What else? Anything else good on here? And really lastly, I just want to say I agree with a lot of the things I've heard said. Diversity good. Academic freedom good. I just wanted to echo that of my faculty colleagues and say thank you all for listening to all of us.
And thanks for your input. Don't fall off.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Ryan Quinn. I'm in the College of Business. I was wondering if I could ask a question instead of making a comment. I think at least one theme that I hear as an undercurrent of what people are saying is that there's a lot of concern about the ethics and the character of whoever comes in as the president, whether it's talking about not wanting to go back to where we were, or to a reclamation project, or to trust, or to all the themes you've heard. And I was wondering if you could tell us, what are you doing to ensure that the person we hire isn't going to repeat some of the things we've had in the past? If you could speak to that, I think I would appreciate it. Maybe others would as well.
Mr. Plunk, do you want to share some of your vetting process?
Sure. We've had two board members join us since we began.
Might as well introduce.
Yeah, let's.
Brian.
Brian Cromer.
And Jim.
Yeah, I'm Jim Rogers, former CEO of Hilliard Lyons and a U of L graduate.
And Jim will be writing the position statement, so it's very important for him to hear from you.
Yeah, the vetting of candidates has always been important, but with some of the stories we've seen in the press and things that happen, I only think that it's gotten more important. In the process that we'll be using, these candidates will be gleaned to a short list and interviewed. Those individuals will be subject to directed referencing to preserve their confidentiality in the early going. But there will be meaningful directed referencing of at least 3 or 4 people. At that juncture, there will also be LexisNexis and Google background checks done on those candidates. The search committee will further distill the pool from that short list to 3 or 4 semifinalists or finalists, and those individuals will be interviewed again, and they will sign a release form to have credit, litigation, criminal, and sexual abuse background checks conducted, as well as non-directed referencing. There will likely be a third interview in there for the leading candidate after that second round of interviews. There really is no tool, no validated instrument to predict success in these jobs. There are validated tests for some occupations, but for presidents in higher education, no such instrument exists. You really rely on extensive non-directed referencing and multiple visits with these candidates. We verify educational credentials. Members of the board and search committee and the various committees that will be interacting with these candidates will evaluate their scholarly work. But after all of that, you hope that you've done everything you possibly can to assure ethical behavior and so on. But it's still an art, not a science. And the keys are, too, for the board to establish metrics and evaluations for these candidates once they are in the position. It's just not all done up front. It's an ongoing process. And that would be my response to that particular question. Maybe someone would like to add to that.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say about the evaluation process, as chair of the governance committee, I'm working with a consultant to develop a tool to evaluate the new president once that person is in place. So we do have a system for that, and we also developed one for the interim president as well. Anybody else want to add anything or other questions?
Hey, I'm Lindsay Renee. I work in the Dean's Office in Arts and Sciences. I'm a longtime staff person, and before that I was a graduate student in the Department of English. I just want to say, as important as everybody's mentioned, how important it is that somebody has vision and inspires us as a community. I think practicality is also really important. I've been here since, I guess, 1995. And over that time, what I've seen, and we have grown a lot, but a lot of the times, I feel like we've been out over our skis. A lot of it, I felt like, has been window dressing, and there haven't been the resources to really prop up what we have been presenting to the public. And so I feel like, I really felt like, that this past administration was smoke, mirrors, and magic. And I felt like that, and I think a lot of my colleagues felt like that for a long time. I often, when people would talk about who were either interested only in athletics or people who just drove around the perimeter of campus, they would talk about how great everything looked, how beautiful it was, and I always would invite people to come into some of our academic buildings and take a look at some of the deferred maintenance, et cetera, that and I would invite all the board members to do the same, to take a real campus tour, not just the spots that people want you to see.
And will you do that with me?
Absolutely. What's that? Yeah, Brigman, that's a good one. I worked on the last application to house a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa, and when we had the visiting committee come to that, we had to be very strategic in where we took them, because it's all about the undergraduate experience. We have, our physical plant staff has been cut drastically. Our buildings are barely clean. A lot of the staff spend a lot of time now taking out their own garbage and recycling. That's not that any of us are above that, but it's not necessarily the best use of all staff or faculty members' time. So I just want to encourage people to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and look at, we need the resource. We need to be very practical about what we can offer and what we can do, and not try to be everything for everyone to some degree, and just look at the resources we have, because they keep dwindling, but we keep trying to do the same amount. So.
Thank you, Lindsay.
I'm Ginger Brown, and I am a longtime staff member. I've worked for the University of Louisville since 1981. I have 2 degrees from the institution. My husband has 2 degrees from the institution, and what has kept me from standing up is how strongly I believe in this institution. And I think that the challenges are apparent. Our budget is not good. We can't afford to do the things that we need to do or want to do, and developing a list of priorities is essential. I think our political framework in this state, our Commonwealth, is one of the most challenging in the nation, because no matter how much lip service our legislature gives to the importance of education, they never put any money into it, or very little money into it, and they take more and more every year. So I think that is an extreme challenge for the next president of this institution. I think that the attributes we want are much like Lindsay said and Andrew said. We want someone who will stay, who will accept the challenges, who will see the value in this institution and the people who work here. Because I really think that one of the things that is best about this institution are the people who work here. I think our staff are doing more with less. We're not filling positions unless they're somehow deemed critical. And so many of the staff members at this institution are doing the jobs of 2 or 3 people. Faculty are asked to pick up classes and not be paid for them, or sometimes they're paid a little, not a lot, or we're hiring adjuncts, which hurts our Phi Beta Kappa application every time we go up for it, because we have too many adjunct, we have more adjunct faculty than we should. We need to be hiring tenure track faculty to take on the educational process of our students. Our students are remarkable, and they achieve great goals, more Fulbright scholars, Rhodes Scholars, all kinds of awards and accomplishments every year, and it doesn't make any difference whether they don't have money they find it. You know, they get here, they work 2 jobs, they work 3 jobs. I work with students who I don't know how they have the time to show up for class, but they do. And the faculty teach them, and they go out the door with diplomas more than we have done in the 30 years I've been here. And actually, I've been here a little bit longer than that, but we need someone who's as passionate about this institution as I am. And I care about athletics too. And that's what we need to put in this position. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ginger.
Hi, my name is Shannon Fry. I'm also a staff member. I wanted just to echo some of the other comments about diversity. I know that is a buzzword, but I think it's incredibly important. And so I am just basically, bluntly hoping we do not have a white male. It would be
Mr. Funk, can you share a little bit about the general the diversity in the pool so far? Not to offend you as a white male or anything like that.
No offense taken. I'm proud to say, and I would want this group to know that over the past 35 years, we've broken the color line and gender line as a recruiting firm in presidential positions around the country. We have been recognized by the Women's Network of the American Council on Education for promoting women into senior level positions in higher education. I could go around the country and tell you about some of the minority and women presidents that are currently sitting. Michael Drake at Ohio State University is that institution's first African American president in its 157-year history, and we were able to recruit him to that position. Carol Fold at the University of North Carolina, Terry Sullivan at the University of Virginia, and a myriad of others. So I know of what you speak. We're proud of our record in helping attract women and minorities. We certainly are employing the same kinds of emphasis that we have placed on those other searches in this area here, and we are already recognizing the results of those efforts. It was mentioned earlier, we have some approximately 45 active candidates at the moment, and in that group are many individuals who are minorities and many women who are interested in the position. So we hear you loudly and clearly. It's just a natural part of our process now. And we just include diversity and inclusion and the principles of it at every stage of the process. When we begin a search, when we're targeting, researching candidates, we're particularly emphasizing targeting women and minorities to be approached about the position. When we're doing interviews, there are questions about what those candidates have done in the area of diversity and inclusivity. We aren't interested in, everybody says they believe in the letter and the spirit of the law. Well, we're really happy about that, but what we really want to know is when you were the provost at XYZ University, how many deans of color did you hire? How many women deans did you hire? And so there will be questions like that in terms of the interview process. When we're doing referencing, there will be those kinds of questions as well. We advertised the ad that was used for the search not only appeared in the Chronicle of Higher Education, but it also appeared in Diversity Issues in Education, the Hispanic Outlook in Education, and Women in Higher Education. All three of those publications, by the way, used to be hard copy publications. They've all gone to online only now. Only the Chronicle continues to publish in hard copy. So we devote considerable time and effort in this area, and we believe that the committee will have a fairly robust pool of women and minority candidates to consider, along with those dreaded white males that might come forward.
Thank you.
Yes, I would just like to know why is the athletic department listed as a nonprofit, and why hasn't it felt the same effects that the school has as far as budget cuts? Because they wouldn't be able to be so profitable if it wasn't for being affiliated with the school. And I think it's more important to be focused in on educating and using money from that into education rather than just continuing to pump up the facilities and pay coaches $1 million while we have teachers that I'm probably sure even combined don't get any of that. Like for instance, with Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich, both of them individually were making more money than was going towards departments at the school that are in charge of teaching people, and that's just one person. And I can almost guarantee that those two will never have as big an impact as any of the teachers here will.
Brian's on the board of the Athletic Association, so I'm going to let him at least share with you what he knows about the sort of the formation and the status of the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the angst and the tenor of the discussion about athletics and academics. I think everybody does. In terms of the nonprofit issues, those are really legal issues about the status of the organization. That's where the term comes from, which probably isn't a very satisfying answer, but that's
how they were formed.
Yeah, that's it's a separate nonprofit entity. The question you're really asking, I think, is a budgetary one about the use of the funds, and understand your points in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Suzanne Meeks. I'm the chair of the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences in Arts and Sciences, and I've been on the faculty since 1987. I've seen a lot of change on this campus in that time, as you might imagine. One of the biggest changes that I have seen is our move to Research 1 status. Now I think it's called Very High Research, but it was not an easy transition that we made. There was a lot of hardship on the part of the faculty. There was a lot of difficult time figuring out how to shift money and provide insufficiently, I think most of the time, the resources that we needed to really have a Research 1 university. There was a lot of Rob Peter to pay Paul kind of shifting of money around. That some of that is what has gotten us to the places we are now. But in that process, the faculty hunkered down and did it. And I think I've been part of at least 10 hires in my department of scholars that I am very proud to be affiliated with, who are amazing classroom teachers. Our students are in their labs, learning research hands-on. I think that those people have done their job regardless of whether there was enough resources for them. We have found funding. We have brought in dollars from NIH and other places. And so I really hope that one major value of our next president is that we will remain a research university and that we will not take a major step backwards there, because the financial pressures of the last 2 years in particular have started to erode the commitment, I think, to research on this campus, and I think that's the wrong way to go.
Thank you for that.
I'm Paige Wills. I do marketing and communication for the School of Public Health, and pretty new here. I recently just started, so 6 months, so I've just kind of been taking in the environment. I came from corporate, but this is just more of a suggestion or a comment that I graduated from Bellarmine. As many of you all know, they just underwent a year-long search for a president on their alumni board of directors, so they included us in that search. And I don't know if you all can reach out, maybe learn from them, their search, maybe get some pointers, or, because I mean, I know they did it in a semi-closed way as well. You know, you can't identify the candidates, you know, for fear that they may, you know, lose their job or something like that. But I know that several candidates, when they narrowed it down and brought them in for the interviews, were vetted, but a lot of them did kind of undercover visits to campus where they, I think the current president as well, I mean, she was part of campus tours, and she just kind of blended in with the population, spent a day on campus. So that could be maybe a way to appease, you know, getting them on campus without necessarily, you know, making, I guess, outing them to, you know, their other institutions and places. So.
Yes. Thanks for your suggestion.
I can maybe just say, I mean, Bellarmine's a private university, so a little bit different situation, but and we have had discussions with Bellarmine and the board chair, and they used a different search. I mean, they went through a similar process in terms of hiring a search firm. They didn't use Mr. Funk's firm, but I do appreciate your comments.
That was the only mistake they made.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Jelani Kerr. I'm from the School of Public Health and Information Sciences. Wish to reiterate the need for and the necessity for diversity within the university and within the search. But I also think that it's important that we have somebody who's firmly entrenched in the academy, somebody who understands teaching, research, and service, someone who's had experience with that. Because the enterprise of the academy is very different from the enterprise of business, the enterprise of a lot of other fields, and I think the university is most well served if there's somebody who's had success in that and can understand the process and the experiences that faculty can go through especially when you have to go through the tenure process and the commitment to that. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Nora Scobie. I'm a staff member, an alum, a parent of a student, and I live within sight of the university. So I'm kind of like the Johnny Cash of U of L. I've been everywhere, man. I've been student affairs, academic affairs, facilities, and a lot of the things everybody said are no-brainers. I mean, of course you're going to do a records check. Of course you're going to do a financial check. And some things are a given. This person has to be inclusive, diversity, you know, the academic freedom. But as you said, there's no litmus test to see if somebody's going to be successful. Well, there are some things that you can look at, though. Especially have somebody that is willing to come out of the copper top tower and see what the campus is about, the conditions of, like Lindsay said, some of these offices, where the faculty work, where the students have to take classes. But also look at this person and say, are they a human being? when they send out a communication, whether they talk to the press or they send out an intra-university communication, don't send out something, let them eat cake. We need somebody that can empathize with our situations and what's going on. Not just what's going on with the Board of Trustees or the business community, but it's what's actually happening to our students, our staff, our faculty, and how they have to live. Look at their campuses, institutions, or organizations. Are their staff, faculty, and students happy? I mean, do they treat them decent? Is morale good? Those are some things that really need to be looked at when you're looking for these candidates. Do their institutions not want to lose them? I want somebody at their institutions that are going to be sad and mad at us because we got them.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Riley. I'm faculty member of the Archives and Special Collections Library, and I want to reiterate what was already said today about the significance of candidates having a background in academia, and also what our last speaker just said about morale. Because what has been a result of the last maybe 5 years of scandal and headlines has been a real lack of trust among staff and faculty towards anybody in Grawemeyer and our leadership. We have no trust. And I have to say that for the board to decide to do a closed search continue to erode that trust as well. We want to be heard, and we want a leader that understands us, so understands academia and the things that we're facing, staff and faculty. And we'll be very disappointed if somebody ultimately is chosen that we can't trust. And I fear that there will be some sort of mass exodus, right? Good people, good staff and faculty are not going to want to work here anymore. Morale's low, and we just can't trust anyone in charge.
Thank you.
No button. Does this work? I guess it does. Okay, I'm Michael Cunningham. I'm a psychologist in the Department of Communication, and I've got a couple of points to make. First of all, AAUP did a survey of the qualities we're looking for in a potential leader, and I'll just list the top 10 of those. The other is that I want to address the issue of whether it's possible to do an assessment of that, and returning to Bob's point about the fact whether there's a valid instrument or not. The top 10 qualities that AAUP is looking for, that's the American Association of University Professors, is number one. Oops, it got scrambled. I just hit a button accidentally. Let me reverse. That's what happens when you carry your laptop up with you. Well, I know with the let me bail out of this and start all over again. Well, the number one was a commitment to shared governance. I can just say that. Shared governance is the most important quality that AAUP is looking for. And for reasons that are not clear to me, my computer decided not to do any responding at all. Anyway, I'm going to pull this up and keep talking at the same time. Commitment to shared governance was really number one. And then the highest ethics was number two on our list. And you can measure ethics. It's possible to do formal assessments of that, and I would really like to see the ethics of the individuals tested prior to them coming on campus. I want to, look at some personality and attitudinal scores before they get here. And I don't know why. Academics seem to be the one area where we don't do a lot of testing. Industry does it all the time. I work for industries that do leadership assessment. If you've had 400 presidential searches, you've had an ample sample size. You could have done a great study. And as a matter of fact, I will provide pro bono services for the next 400. We will gather that data, and I will give you an instrument at no charge, so that other institutions don't have to go through this wandering in the darkness claiming that there's nothing out there. Meanwhile, I'm trying desperately with my left hand to get off of this Excel spreadsheet that just got scrambled. It's telling me I have a problem with a formula, even though all I have is a spreadsheet. It says you can't quit Microsoft Excel. It must be a U of L program. I don't know. You can't leave, you can't change, you can't do anything at all. It's not helping. Can't quit Microsoft Excel. I don't know what. Okay, so anybody else remember what I found before? Let's see. I'm just stalling right now, trying to shut down this and bring it back up again. But the basic idea is that you can understand where we're coming from. Shared governance, ethics, commitment to diversity, presence of a PhD, good classroom experience. In other words, we are looking for an academic to lead academics because that is the mission of the university. We're not really interested in somebody coming out of government, although that could be beneficial to us. We are not really looking for someone who comes out of some of the professional schools. We're looking for somebody who comes out of the broad tradition of academics with a real base in the heart of the university. And that's the kind of thing we're looking for, but we're especially looking for somebody who knows how to be honest and straightforward and trustworthy and resists temptation to the dark side of the force. Unfortunately, that's difficult to measure, but I think we can see it. And if we can do assessments of these people, I'm confident we can measure the best quality of the people in the pool. So I encourage you to make testing a part of your process.
I have a firm that's willing to do that for us already, so thank you, Ellen.
What tests are they using?
They have lots of different ones available. I don't have my stuff with me because I didn't know you were going to ask me that. But if you want my business card, I'll give it to you and we can communicate offline. I haven't been in my office in 2 days because I've been here, but I'll be back tomorrow, Lord willing.
Hi, my name is Farshid Ramazanipur. I'm an assistant professor in chemistry. I was actually stuck in the lab until 15 minutes ago. So some of the things I'm going to say are probably told already, I guess, with most people here, but just wanted to make my voice heard that I guess the past 2.5 years I've been here, the main problem I have faced has been that it seems like this understanding the importance of research in the mentality that basically needs to govern this university, it's not as strong as I was expecting to be. So I think something that probably other people have pointed out, having somebody who has gone through academic ranks, has been an assistant professor, associate, full professor, they know what this process is. Somebody who has a PhD, who understands basically getting a PhD is not a simple thing. So basically that has been my experience. I think that's what we probably need in this university. A little more emphasis on research and basically understanding what an impact it can have in terms of reputation, in terms of what it can do, basically to improve, I guess, the quality of the university. Research obviously is important and teaching as well. But I guess my experience has been the research part hasn't been emphasized enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to follow him up. I've been here, I'm Mark Austin, sociology. I've been here almost 30 years, and I've taught in the neighborhood of 8,000 students because of the size of the classes. Smoke and mirrors comes to mind. His particular mention of research. We've been told that we need to increase our research output. We need to be competitive with ACC. Now that we're in the ACC, and I can only speak from the social sciences, but our research resources are essentially zero. And I have colleagues at schools that are not R1 that have research budgets. They support research at those schools. Basically, as my colleague expressed, it's a smoke and mirrors game. We are expected to do research without the resources. If we get a non-academic president that does not understand the importance of research, but also the resources that have to support research, then we've all failed. At the university, I view us as seeking the truth. Whether it's accounting, sociology, philosophy, engineering, we're all with the goal of seeking the truth. We haven't found it, but we're looking for it. Our students, our staff, our faculty are here to do that. And we've been faced with the last 5 years, the truth has been hidden from us, and now we're facing a process of hiring a president that is being hidden from us also. And I'm losing colleagues, and I say I because with a 30-year commitment, this is my university, it's my department, and I am losing, have already lost 2 valuable young colleagues that were very important to our department, and this is within 1 year. So this smoke and mirrors is not only the physical facilities of driving around the outside, but not going into the humanities restroom and seeing what it looks like, the graffiti on it. And I study graffiti, so that must leave that one out. But it's also a morale deficit that we have smoke and mirrors. It's a research smoke and mirrors that we're R1 competitive with ACC. We're not competitive on salaries, on research support, and therefore on research output. So I would just encourage you to emphasize these things to whoever you hire and realize that they will come in for many of us under a cloud of suspicion because of the lack of transparency and our experience with the past president who put us in a morale deficit and a transparency deficit. So I'd like for you to just at least portray those ideas to the ones that you interview, that this smoke and mirrors, the transparency, all of this has been going on for a long period. They are going to be pushing the battle uphill when they come here.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Taylor. I work in the Division of Student Affairs in the Dean of Students Office. And I would hope that we have a president that's committed to student success. So in the Division of Student Affairs, that's exactly what we do. We're trying to support students, and sometimes that's when they're in crisis or need care. And I would hope that we have someone who can be quick on their feet, that is a good problem solver, and especially in those very difficult times. So definitely someone committed to student success.
Thank you.
Okay, Benita, I've got some questions that have come in or comments on Twitter. Well, first thing, Mr. Funk, if you can find anybody who cares about U of L as much as Ginger Brown,
I know.
you will have earned more than double your salary, my friend.
But we won't pay it to you. We just want you to find it. We want to put the money back in these people. So.
Okay, we had several that have come in. This is from, I'm sorry, I can't even read the screen name. Has anyone mentioned that private fundraising must be a major strength of any next U of L president? The lack of money negatively impacts U of L every day.
We have gotten that several times,
okay.
But I wrote it down again.
This is a question from Don Honiken. It says, can the board discuss how they are making use of the survey that the Faculty Consultation Committee distributed to faculty about the qualities they want to see in a president?
This committee has looked at it. I've certainly looked at it, digested it, and talked with my team about it. And I've sent it out to the full board and asked them to review it, because we're gleaning information from that as well. We were planning to do a survey, but since the Red Book Committee had done one, we wanted to go ahead and leverage that. And so we are using that data, and we appreciate it very much.
Okay. This is from Amanda James. It says, I hope for the presidential search to find a prez who is well-rounded to tackle all the issues our university is facing. I think the ideal candidate must be passionate about helping our students in U of L as a whole. Someone who can learn to love U of L as much as I and others like Ginger do. The ideal candidate should be ready to tackle the numerous issues, but also ready to be proactive, ready to grow, ready to push ahead once we can get past some of these problems, all while understanding U of L's culture and what it can be.
Okay, thank you.
I have, I guess, one more. This is from Matt Barnes. It says, how can the Board of Trustees assure us the next president will be reasonably paid? Then he complains about several salaries. I'm not going to go there, but that's the question from him, and that's what we've got.
Okay. Well, on the payment front, I'm sure metrics will be looked at to see where the salary really should be, not where it was with Ramsey, but rather something that's more in line with a reasonableness for the type of university this is. So rest assured that will be looked at, and we'll ask Mr. Funk to pull some data, but we'll also hold feet to the fire to make sure that we're not overpaying someone.
Hi, my name's Dewey Clayton. I'm in the Department of Political Science here, and I've been listening to a lot of people who are faculty, staff here at the university, have been here for quite some time, love this university, care about it, and so I was just saying to myself, well, why aren't some of these people on the search committee in choosing our next president? Because I think that's a real problem here, and I hate to bring that up. You all are wonderful people, I'm sure, but I just think that's something moving forward that we need to consider. I don't know many of you, but I can tell you're passionate about the university. You're the type of people I think should be making the decision on who the next president is at the University of Louisville. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Sorry, I missed one.
Okay.
We got one more Twitter one, if I can find it here. This is from Wendy Metcalf. It says, as a longtime staff member, I think we need a president who is willing to work with all constituent groups on campus toward renewing our trust in the administration. I don't think an internal candidate would alleviate our concerns or garner our trust.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Now's the time.
I'll take another swing at it. I simply want to read the top 10 of the AAP list. I've already mentioned that the highest standards of honesty and integrity and a commitment to shared governance are 1 and 2. Unshakable respect for academic freedom and diverse opinions on key social, political, and intellectual questions is number 3. A collaborative and inclusive leadership style with a willingness to consult and listen. A PhD or comparable professional degree. Sensitivity to conflicts of interest and a willingness to disclose them. Sound acumen and judgment, the ability to make difficult decisions. A record of professional accomplishments and credentials sufficient to be granted tenure as a faculty member at the University of Louisville. A firm belief that the primary mission of the university is to stimulate a passion for understanding, investigation, and creativity. A passion for the mission of liberal arts education to broaden knowledge and enhance critical thinking, and forthright and inclined to be transparent about problems. I could, of course, go on. This only gets us from 6.6 to 7 on a 7-point scale. There are a lot of other values that are equally high, but this should give you some idea of the sort of things we're looking for. We have very high standards. I hope we can get some people who meet these criteria, but it gives you the flavor for the kind of person we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Schreck, and I'm with the School of Public Health and Information Sciences. And to echo something that was said earlier about wanting a human being, I think for me that looks like compassion and authenticity, and I think that's like a step towards building trust. So if this person, no matter which constituent group they're in front of, is the same person, they don't just tell me what I want to hear or talk down to me because I'm a staff member, or placate me, which is how I've felt at different times with different leadership. Not that's in the room. Thank you all for having us here today, but I do think that we can see what authentic and compassionate people look like, and in those interactions. And we have to place a lot of trust in the search committee, and so we really hope that we can trust judgment. And I think that's why we want more people to have those experiences, because to me it's a lot of pressure on that search committee to be able to make those judgments. And the more people they're in front of, the more that we'll be able to learn about them. So we appreciate the opportunity for you guys to do that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we close for the night, is it possible that each of you share briefly what your value attributes that you're looking for in our next leader for the University of Louisville?
You want to start, Jim?
Sure. Get to my page. Taking a lot of notes. It's nothing that you haven't said or you haven't heard. I mean, I have no new words. You know, integrity is incredible to me. Very high standards. Communication is very important to me. There's transparency and there's confidentiality. And you have to know how to weigh that because you just can't blast out everything. There are some things that have to be confidential. You know, you have to protect some things. So somebody that can really weigh that. I've learned a lot in the last 2 days here. We started yesterday at 8 o'clock in the morning, went to 8 o'clock last night. We started today at 9 o'clock. We're going to 8 o'clock tonight. And I've heard a lot of things that I didn't know. I didn't know the salary freezes here that's gone on for some people for 10 years. That shocks me. I asked a group of individuals today, did you raise your hand? Did you escalate it? And they said, well, you know, after 2 years and budget cuts, you just realize you're not going to get any raise, okay? So that surprised me. There's different facets here. There's staff, and there's professors, academics, and sometimes the staff feels like a second-class citizen. And how do we address that? You know, so I think it's got to be somebody very open. I love the term one university. I think it needs to be one university. And, you know, I am very committed. I mean, I am very impressed by the heart and the compassion of the people that I've heard over the last 20 hours, probably 16, 20 hours, that are so committed and do love this university so much to continue to work here through the face of all this adversity. I've been very, very impressed with the people I've met.
Thank you. Well, as you can imagine, the Faculty Senate developed a statement of what the attributes we would like to see in our next president. You can find it on the Faculty Senate website, but I'd just like to highlight transparency, integrity, commitment to diversity and inclusion and community engagement, recognizing the work of faculty, everyday life of faculty, and someone who's from academia, who's been through the process, through the tenure process, and has taught in the classroom and has done research and all of the things that faculty regularly do.
I think we need someone who is an academic, from an academic background, that is committed to continuing and growing the university's position with regard to research and investing in graduate as well as professional research. I think we need somebody that looks at Louisville as an opportunity to take something that has been made great on many levels by the contributions of the faculty and the staff and make it greater and empower the people that will report up to become greater. I think we need impeccable integrity. I think we need somebody who's a great communicator and a leader of people that will come here and meet the people at various levels and figure out, okay, what's the opportunity for the staff people to move up in this organization? How do we keep these people? How do we get more people that are graduating from here to want to come back here and work and invest 20, 30, 40 years of their lives making this place even better than it is already? I want somebody who is visionary but willing to step out and be an individual with regard to that and say, to heck with what the books say. If I'm going to take this opportunity, I'm going to just elevate this thing to a level that says, you know, look out other universities in the ACC or wherever, because U of L is coming, and I'm going to be behind every person on the faculty, every person on the staff, and equip those people to do what they need to do, and give the Board of Trustees a charge to find the money and to go out and work with our relationships with the government and whatever, and get some things done for U of L. So I want somebody who's not afraid of a challenge and who's not afraid of building a long-term legacy in terms of getting this place right-sized and then taken forward. And that's just a few of the things on my list, but I won't bore you with any more.
I'm not sure how to follow all of that, but I'll just take a minute and say that from my perspective, I agree with the statements that are made. Enid did everybody did a nice job. Enid went through several things on, integrity, I think, is number one. Look, we know the history, and we understand that. We're trying to do that. In my list, that's number one. Somebody with vision, I think, is very important. This needs to be somebody that wants to come in, roll the sleeves up, and the University of Louisville is in such a, we realize there are issues, right? But University of Louisville is in such a good spot with the ACC and all the other opportunities. You can really take this thing to the next level. At the same time, the educational marketplace is changing, and there are challenges there, and you've got to have somebody who can see down the road to where that's going and be nimble in terms of things you do for the university. I think transparency is a real key, and a lot of those things sort of flow up into being a good leader. But that's obviously an important one. Diversity is very important. Look, we've been in these meetings. We're hearing there are consistent themes. I know you all have not been there at all of these, but there's a short list of things that are coming up in all of these, and believe me, we're hearing you. The last thing I'd like to say is that this university is so incredibly important to the community and needs to be a driver of so many things, and we get that. Look, we're not perfect, and I realize, I'll say there have been issues about the search process and all of that, and I understand all that. We're working very hard and doing absolutely the best we can. We want to have a fantastic president at the university, so appreciate everybody being here. I know you've all got probably better things to do on a cold day during the week, but we appreciate very much you taking the time to show up and give us your perspective. It's very, very important to us, and I appreciate it.
And on the diversity and inclusion front, we want it to be living it, not paying lip service to it. So.
The one thing I'd like to say that I forgot, and it's something that somebody taught me early in my career when they hired me, is he hired people hungry. He hired people hungry. And he hired people hungry not to make a lot of money, hungry to be successful. Just be hungry to be successful. So I'd like to find somebody that's really hungry, that we've used the word challenges up here. A couple of people, Rob used the word today, opportunity. These challenges are opportunities. So I want somebody hungry to want to come in here and take big bites out of this stuff and turn it around and him or her be successful and make this university successful.
And one thing that all of it is in support of student success, right? And academic excellence. And that is why we're all here. And I think that we all recognize that. But I just wanted to say it out loud.
And we recognize how much you are committed to the University of Louisville community. And so that makes us work even harder on behalf of the organization, because you're not turning your backs on the place because of the problems. You're invested, you've been invested for the long haul. So we just want to be part of the solution. And I hope you'll work with us to let us do that. We have another session that starts in 5 minutes. I apologize. So I must terminate this one. Again, sorry we were late. The Board of Trustees meeting ran over. Please go to the portal if you have other thoughts. Get our email address, my email address from Jake. Send me an email. We want your input going forward.
In this building?
It's in this building. Down the other end.
I can't. I hope they win, though. 2 games for us, so. Yeah, I told Ray to take video.